Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. This is going to be the first video that I did. I kind of got sidetracked and forgot that I was going to make one of these. But today here we're in a garage. My girlfriend's garage, actually, of all people. And this is one of my parts 8.6s, and I am taking the differential out. I've already drained the fluid, and I'm going to show you guys just quickly how to do SR5 rear end, how to get the diff out, and how to get the axle shafts out. So first things first, you're gonna need like a pry bar. Most of the time, the covers will just pry right off. If not, usually come with a little resistance. You're supposed to technically use what are called the bolt holes right here, but I think that we might be able to get this with just a pry bar. There we go. Now it's starting to come out. Okay, there we go. So with the drum itself off, you're exposed to the axle shaft, brake shoes, your whole entire drum brake assembly. Then you got your drum over here. So there's gonna be 4 bolts on the inside of the axle shaft holding this backing plate in there. And those are gonna be holding the axle shaft like actually in the rear end. And you have to take those 4. I'm gonna run brake clean through these since I'm at my girlfriend's house and I didn't bring PB Blaster, so. I'm gonna run some brake clean in there. I'm gonna let it sit for a second. And then we're gonna go ahead and take this off. All right, now that we've let the brake clean sit for just a few seconds, I'm gonna go ahead and pull those bolts off. So in through here, through these holes, you're gonna have a 14 or a 9/16, either or. 14, obviously, I forgot mine at my house, so I'm using a 9/16. So if you happen to not have a 14 or only have 9/16, then you can also use that. So you're gonna go through these holes right here, these 2, and then you're just you can work in a star pattern if you want. I'm just gonna crack them because I don't really care about this rear end too much. And this is my parts car, so if anything gets damaged on it, I'm not gonna be too worried, to be completely honest. Could also possibly break a socket in the process, but I think we're good because we broke that bolt loose. So this is my parts car that we're working on right now, actually, and to be honest, it's kind of a piece. It doesn't have a title. It's a parts car, and I don't know what to do with it right now, especially since it's not even gonna have a functioning rear end pretty soon. But I guess we'll just kind of wait and see what happens. But that's not really the point of this video. So let's go ahead and get that bolt out. If you have skinny hands like me and skinny fingers, probably get it by hand at this point. But every car is different, so who knows? That fell into the wheel there. All 4 bolts out of their holes, or the nuts off rather, for the that's holding the plate that holds in the axle shaft. Go ahead and get a slide hammer. That's what I usually use. That's what I find easiest anyways. It can be kind of hard to set up for drum brake rear ends like the SR5, but for GTS rear ends it's pretty simple as far as like having room to put down the nut, at least the way I do it. And then you just go ahead and just like that, and your axle shaft's out. And now that part's done. So now, with the axle shaft out, the half shaft, we can now remove the third member holding the diff. Obviously, by this point, you've already drained the oil. I forgot to mention that earlier in the video. Always drain the oil before. Alright, now we are positioned under the car. I just sprayed some brake clean on these 2 guys right here, as they just got a little bit of oil all over them. And we can see the third member, which holds the diff, is in there. So what it is it's just a circular pattern of, I'm pretty sure they're 14 millimeter or 12 millimeter bolts actually. So now we can clearly see the bolts, and they are 12 millimeters. So we're gonna crack these guys open, and hopefully you guys will be able to see that right there. All these are just 12 millimeter nuts with a washer, crush washer on them. And this third member, and part of the reason this video is being made is this third member is getting shipped to Florida for a friend of mine who needs one for his SR5, and see if that guy will. It's proven difficult. It's gonna be a knuckle buster. There we go. Got lucky. But anyways, a friend of mine in Florida has been looking for an SR5 third member, and of course I had one, and I really don't need it because it's just sitting under my parts car, which is probably just going to be the parts car for a long time. This was originally under my gray SR5, but I have a GTS LSD under that one now. Now, typically, I think you would want to do this in a star pattern. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not, just because, well, I don't really think that won't make a difference, but I could be wrong. That guy's really in there. Let's see if that gives you guys a better view. That guy's out. Keep in mind too, it can get really tight underneath here. The ratchet slipped off. If my impact was charged, this would be a little quicker, but it isn't, so ratchet and hand tool, they work just fine. And honestly, the process for removing the diff is pretty much the same for the GTS and the SR5, other than the fact that the GTS has disc brakes and the SR5 has drums. And the discs, you have to use 2 bolts to get the rotor off. But other than that, pretty much the process and the whole idea is exactly the same. No real difference. It's about time for a new ratchet and or extension. Didn't bring all my tools with me over here, so kind of lacking. I did end up going and breaking down and having to go get one of my 14 millimeters, or my 14 millimeter socket from my house, so I had to get that for one bolt over there that was being pretty stubborn and wasn't quite taking the 9/16. I think it was mainly in part though because the 9/16 was a shallow socket, and it's kind of hard to get those guys off with the shallow socket. Alright, now we just have one more bolt to go. Just that guy up there. Having a long extension helps, especially if something like this. You're gonna have to move your drive line. No, obviously. And depending on if you have like a 1-piece or a 2-piece. On my car, I have a 1-piece, so I just disconnect it from the third member and just kind of let it sit there, drop down. Okay, so now that we have all of the bolts holding in the third member removed, it's time to remove the third member itself. All right, so now that we got the seal cracked, you can see the diff is moving freely now. And there goes some of the washers. And we're gonna go ahead and take this guy off and get him out of here. All right, let's go ahead and pull the diff off, or the third member off. Now, the SR5 third member and assembly and all that is a little bit lighter than the GTS, so pulling it off by hand shouldn't be an issue. Just be prepared because it weighs more than it looks. There we go. I got that guy pulled out now. We have removed the third member from the AE86. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my differential out, since I'm only selling the third member, and that'll be quick like. Thank you guys for watching. If you did, this is my first video, so don't be too harsh on me, but be more AE86 stuff in the future. I'll see you guys. Bye.